casket of Sir Paulias Matane arrives. New research on governance in PNG. And Kairuku village hosts National Boxing Championship.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Thursday's news. Sir Paulias Matane, who served as Papua New Guinea's 8th Governor-General, passed on early this week. He will be accorded a state funeral this Sunday at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. Born in 1931, he held senior positions in the early years after independence. He was appointed Governor-General from 2004 to 2010. He is the first Papua New Guinean to travel the 7 continents of the world. He also hosted a program on MTV in the 90s titled Chit Chat. This afternoon, his casket arrived from Kokopo, East New Britain, and has been placed at the funeral home awaiting preparations for the state funeral. We go live now to reporter Dennis O'Reilly, who is at the funeral home.
Yes, thank you, Helen. The body of the late former Governor-General, Sir Paulias Matane, is here at the funeral home at Erima in Port Moresby. His body, the casket arrived around 4 p.m. this afternoon at the Jackson's Airport. He was given a guard of honor. The Minister Justin Kachenko was there, and he spoke about the former Governor-General Sir Paulias Matane's life, and he wants the highest honor to be given to a statesman who has served the country well. Sir Paulias Matane wrote over 40 books depicting the life of Papua New Guinea as well as some countries he traveled to around the world. Now, the information we've received here, Helen, is that tomorrow morning, around 9 a.m., the body of late Sir Paulias Matane will be brought from the funeral home to Government House, where the body will lay in state for about 2 hours. And from there, he will be brought back here to the funeral home. Back to you, Helen.
Now, Dennis, can you tell us some of the arrangements that are being made for the state funeral and a possible program of the event?
Yes, Helen. After Saturday, laying in state at Government House, on Sunday will be the state funeral at Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. That's where the main program will be. Sir Paulias Matane will be given a guard of honor, and there will be a lot of speeches there, and a lot of dignitaries will be there, expected to be there to honor the life of this statesman. And so that will be on Sunday at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. The next day, on Monday, the body is expected to be flown back to his home province in East New Britain, and eventually the East New Britain provincial government will take over the program from there, and eventually the body of the late former Governor-General, Sir Paulias Matane, will be laid to rest.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll now go to break and continue with the rest of our bulletin after the break. Welcome back. For at least the last decade, Papua New Guinea has been accused of having weak or poor governance. A new research document launched by the PNG National Research Institute shows that governance in Papua New Guinea, given its per capita income, is about as good as it is expected to be. No Better and No Worse. The discussion paper, PNG Governance Update 2021, was launched at Stanley Hotel in Port Moresby yesterday.
The Papua New Guinea Update 2021 discussion paper number 192 is the result of a partnership between the PNG National Research Institute and APT Associates Australia under the direction of Graham Teskey, who conceptualized the update and authored the paper in collaboration with a small team of specialists. Mr. Teskey and other authors of the paper joined the launching program yesterday morning via virtual conferencing, analyzing the paper. Registrar of Political Parties and Integrity of Political Parties and Candidates Commission, Dr. Alphonse Gelu, in providing a feedback on the paper, said there is still great need for government service delivery and the extension of governance to the rural areas of the country.
Effective governance occurs when a state has the capacity, legitimacy, and authority to deliver public services, regulate the economy, maintain order and the rule of law, collect and use revenue, and act in the public good.
The paper addresses the debate over COVID responsiveness from PNG perspective, raising wider questions about the role of governance in national development. It demonstrates that despite certain commentators describing PNG as a failed state, this is absolutely not the case. However, there are certainly areas that require significant improvement.
Because one of the key issues that I discussed in my previous life when I was an academic was in looking at legitimacy and the competing sources of legitimacy that we have in Papua New Guinea. When we look at the competing sources of legitimacy, you will find here that it is not only the state, okay? The state is the one that maintains legitimacy. Because the state has the power, the capacity, and the authority, okay, to insert its influence over its citizens. But in Papua New Guinea, when you look at the competing sources of authority, you will find that the state is just one of those groups, okay, within our environment.
PNG NRI Director Dr. Osborne Sanida said there were challenges in putting the report together, especially in gathering data and doing peer reviews.
Many times, I think sometimes we are as Papua New Guineans, we are our own worst enemies, in the sense that we keep on talking ourselves down, and so then we continue to have the negative mindset. But this particular report, I think, is telling us that we are not too bad. We are going at a stage of the development that other countries have gone through. So the question, I think, now is how to address the constraints that are impeding our development.
An economist by profession, Dr. Sanida said the main factors of economic production like land, labor, capital and technology remain crucial in providing effective governance in the country.
When you talk about capacity, it's about delivery. There are factors of production of goods and services, and these are land, labor, capital, technology and the institutions. So these are the things that we need to address. For example, issues about the cost and revenues that different levels of government need to have in order to make capacity work.
Dr. Sanida described the report as a game changer for governance research in PNG. The paper is now available for access by interested parties and individuals. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Accessing climate change funding is now a challenge by the Papua New Guinea government. Environment Minister Mori says nearly $100 billion has been promised by first world nations to assist mitigate climate change affected countries. In a recent brief with stakeholders in Port Moresby, Minister Mori highlighted efforts his department and responsible agencies are taking to access climate change funds.
All in all, about 3,000.
Minister Mori told participants during the recent media information session there has been promises by world-leading nations that the developed world has made commitments in the tune of $100 billion per annum. He says this funding falls under the climate change funding to assist affected nations. Mori said this has been mentioned every year, but with not even a cent released.
Not even 1 cent has been contributed. This year at COP26, Great Britain promised $20 billion. And so they have, basically made a start. America pledged about 356 million. Now, what is needed is not only pledging, we want actual commitment, and the funds must be established. Otherwise, it's just like them putting the carrot around, and we just can't tail them everywhere to those COP meetings.
According to the Environment and Climate Change Minister, nations with the worst emitting rates of greenhouse gas have always made commitments up to $400 billion by year 2024. In the recent COP26 summit in Glasgow, Great Britain and the US made calls to begin with. He says this may be a start, but how soon will be another question.
This year at COP26, Great Britain promised $20 billion. And so they have, basically made a start. America pledged about 356 million. Now, what is needed is not only pledging, we want actual commitment, and the funds must be established. Otherwise, it's just like them putting the carrot around, and we just can't tail them everywhere to those COP meetings.
While the developed world is committing climate change funds, Papua New Guinea is yet to establish a framework that will see this funding channel through. Minister Morris says all these efforts are underway.
Now, what it means is that it's not lost. 2021 is the vintage point, and we have got to have them measured again. This is the reason why we're getting through our partners, Coalition of Rainforest Nation, Ernst Young, for them to come and help us, together with CCDA, to measure our carbon credits. The good thing is that we have got the remote sensing data, the satellite imagery, and of course, the relevant softwares.
Jagla Power Jr. National EMTV News.
The Kina for Kina project by Enga provincial government and the Australian government has seen the completion of an open amphitheater in Wabeg town. The Australian High Commissioner to PNG, John Philp, officially handed over the keys to Enga provincial government yesterday. It is one of the many projects the Australian government has funded in Enga province.
Enga is the first province outside Port Moresby to have its own open amphitheater. It has a holding capacity of 400 people and has a state-of-the-art design, lifting the standard of Enga province. It will be used to hold village courts, cultural events, school activities and other forums. It was the idea of many people who wish to see such building being constructed next to the Enga Taikanda or Cultural Museum, which was put into reality by Enga provincial government.
Peter Stokes and others from the PNG Australia Governance Partnership responded to our proposal, knowing very well that the future of the country lies first and foremost in peace and harmony at the grassroots level of communities.
Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipata said he is proud to partner with Australia to deliver services to his people. He highlighted that the Australian government's funding of 4.5 million kina has seen the completion of Enga College of Nursing dormitories and student mess. Another 10 million kina funding has seen the completion of 16-in-1 building at Enga Teachers College. They also funded the Wabeg Vegetable Market with another 10 million kina, which is still under construction. They funded the Compiègne Baptist Hospital with another 6 million kina. The open amphitheater cost 2.4 million kina, a Kina for Kina project where EPG paid 1.3 million kina to match Australia's funding.
It's touching our heart, all these things that you are doing for us. So I think this is one province that Australians can also sleep well knowing that money is spent well. So I'm all this plus something meeting him long end. Only work was supporting me. Enga wouldn't be where we are today. Suppose all Australian, come and accelerate it. How you may catch up.
The Australian High Commissioner to PNG, John Philp, officiated the handover of the keys to Enga provincial government. He said Enga, through its provincial government, is leading the way for PNG in building infrastructures that will not only benefit Enga but PNG, and Australia will always support Enga's development agendas.
I'd also like to commend the provincial government's commitment to ensuring it's a catalyst to improve access to education, not just for men and boys, but also for women and girls, so that can strengthen economic and cultural community participation amongst young people. This is an important area for collaboration between Papua New Guinea and Australia, between Enga and Australia. And Enga was recently announced as the first province to participate in the PNG Work Readiness Pathway Training Program.
Provincial Administrator Dr. Samson Amien encouraged the Enga people to support the government's visions by changing their attitude and start embracing change. Dr. Amien says the provincial government-funded village court, Operation Make Him Save, will conduct its mediation at the Amphitheater, and students can also witness such gatherings to learn. Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Wabag.
Theodis Limited presented a cheque of 25,000 kina to Live PNG Care, an organisation caring for underprivileged children. The company has been an active supporter of Live PNG Care for over 6 years and today renewed their annual sponsorship.
Cooperating in social responsibility and supporting communities is one of the key pillars Theodis Limited believes in. Today, the business superstore renewed its sponsorship with Live PNG Care, presenting a cheque worth of 25,000 kina.
So we provided family home environment is because even though a child comes from a different background of losing both parents, you see, the starting point of a child life is a parent, you see. The home and the family connect, the connection with mom and dad, parental love and care. That's the most fundamental pillar of a child's upbringing. Apart from shelter, apart from food, apart from education, you see, that family bondness, that's the starting point.
Upon receiving the cheque, founder and director of Live PNG Care, Colin Yakio, says they are always grateful for Theodis' support towards the children they take care of. Yakio believes that supporting children today builds great leaders of tomorrow.
We've been supporting Live PNG Care for about 6 years now, and every year we've been trying to make sure that they have enough of a facility where they can support their children with stationaries and office supplies for their own organization. So last year we donated a truck to help them in moving their children around, and they've been doing quite a lot of work around some of the settlements in terms of schooling and running educational programs. So for us, this is a great way for us to support the next generation. A lot of these children will become leaders in the future, and trying to invest in them and build them up is an important part of Theodis and how we do business.
So we've been doing this almost 7 years now. And for us, we are focused on education. We focus on education. That education is, like I said earlier on, it's a tool. We begin to educate a child. We know that we are educating a family, and we know we are educating a community. That's why we exist to impact these children or unfortunate one through education program. So Live PNG Care runs 3 education programs.
Live PNG Care continues to help underprivileged children and youths by offering accommodation, education, and parental support. Representing the children who were present during the cheque presentation was Jonathan Horry, who has just completed his year 12 at the Jubilee Catholic Secondary School and is grateful for the help the organization has given with support from sponsors such as Theodis.
So Live PNG Care is an organization that helps children, and I was a child that was being abandoned by a family, but despite the challenges that when I come to this organization, I see that I feel that happiness in that organization. I see that there's a love, there's someone out there who care for kids like us, who doesn't have someone at the back of us to support us in our education and to give us that love that we deserve as a grown-up. So I'm really happy and privileged to be in this organization. And our investors, people who help us, it's a seed that they're planting in us.
With a donated bus last year and now a presentation of 25,000 kina, Theodis Limited looks forward to more sponsorship with Life PNG Care. Jamie Harrow, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina is buying $0.2775 $0.3830 Australian dollars, $0.2378 euro and 31.07 yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and copper closed higher and cocoa closed lower. Crude oil is trading higher, palm oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Up next, some sporting updates in Chukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The village of Eboa in Central Province in the Kairuku district is the host of this year's Amateur Boxing National Championships. The tournament started yesterday and will end tomorrow with the finals.
The village of Eboa in Mekeo in the Kairuku district is center stage for the national championships of the PNG Amateur Boxing Union. New Mekeo Amateur Boxing Association is the co-host of the tournament.
The association that is co-hosting this national championship is New Mekeo Amateur Boxing Association. We call it for short, we say New MABA.
Mekeo boxers are dominating the tournament with a large contingent.
We have a full team. We have two teams from New Mekeo. That's about 76 boxers. We have about the same number from Kaba, Kairuku Amateur Boxing Association, and another 50 or so from North Mekeo Amateur Boxing Association. So in total, you could be looking at about 200 plus boxers from the three Mekeo sister associations.
The national championship started yesterday with very strong competition and with the presence of the Chief Executive Officer of the PNG Sports Foundation making an appearance at the event.
Now, new sports policy come up. Now you look at me CEO belong Papua New Guinea Sports Foundation. Me come law, look him how you plus organize him all sport, the grassroots level, so that time is sit down with them government, na talk law, develop him sport long grassroots level. Me got sabe. One of kind something is a come up law here. One of kind turn you plagad.
Boxers from Port Moresby are part of the hit out at Eboa and say they are well looked after by the community.
Belakang staff on them, wasabam bla champion blo NCDA, I mean like PNG, sali kema mitolem family belong moli accommodate mi bla. Only accommodate me bla, look out me bla house, na kai na all this la so all mangi all feel free lo, move around lo, sa community no, all no pore to onem since aste me bla kam staff, all la mas all feel free straight lo, take part lo la competition.
Women boxers showed they had good boxing skill set and were a crowd favorite at the tournament. The concept of having a boxing tournament in rural Papua New Guinea is a positive step in the sport's development.
milugi mosem suppose mi hosting plenty of tournament in all rural areas by milugi mol plenty of good boxes na to all pikinini be all grow up all balukim na all bastard developing ta moligli ket longam.
The tournament will end tomorrow at Eboa village with the finals. Fideli Sukina, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more boxing after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Despite the challenges of hosting the National Amateur Boxing Championships in a rural village like Eboa in Mekeo Central Province, tournament hosts have managed to get the tournament underway. With no funding from the National Federation, the hosts secured some funding to get the competition started, but no boxers from outside Central and NCD had flown in for the National Championships.
The concept of going rural to host the National Amateur Boxing Championships was welcomed by the village hosts, Eboa in Mekeo, in the Central Province.
This is a showcase event, especially in a rural setting. This is the first time for the Papua New Guinea Amateur Boxing Union to stage the National Championships in a rural setting.
But sadly, the co-hosts of the championships, New Mekeo Amateur Boxing Association, say no teams from outside had flown in for the championships.
Associations from the outer centers, they were going to be, the tickets and the travel things were all done by the Olympic Committee for them to travel here to participate and then back again. Seeing that the Olympic Committee had withdrawn their funds, there's no other way for them to make their way down to this tournament.
A funding amount of 40,000 kina promised by the PNG Olympic Committee to co-fund the tournament with the hosts was pulled back, with PNG OC citing some issues which were highlighted by PNG Amateur Boxing Union General Secretary Dr. Gideon Kendino.
We were advised that the tournament should not go ahead due to the weather as well as the travel restrictions at this time of the year. So we had, as a union, had suggested to the organizing committee to defer to January.
Whilst the hosts at Mekeo were told to postpone the event, they had already prepared to go ahead.
They actually asked us to postpone it until January 14th. But then we have a tradition in our boxing calendar. Now, I am given the opportunity now. If I don't take it, it can be taken away from me and given to somebody.
The PNG Amateur Boxing Union see this as technically not a national championships and will have a boxing trials to pick a team to the Commonwealth Games.
Technically speaking, it's not a national championships. You don't have Bougainville, you don't have Matane, you don't have Rabaul, you don't have Keviang, you don't have Kimbe, you don't have Lei, you don't have Waubulolo, Kainantu, Hagen, Alatau, Mishima, we work in Vanimo. So it is not a national championships technically, but we allowed it to happen because they had put in a lot of effort and time and effort. I was advised not to come and I said, no, I'm the General Secretary, so I have to go and support them.
Despite the challenge of hosting the tournament, they were relieved of some of the funding pressure by local member Peter Isoaimo.
I'll say thank you to our member because at this time of our real need time, he stepped in to help us with 25,000. That will take us through for this tournament.
Fideli Sukina, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Some showers and thunderstorms in Port Moresby, Kirima and Popondetta, cloudy with a bit of rain showers in Daru, and cloudy with a shower or two in Alatau. In the Momasu region, mostly cloudy with some chances of rain showers in Ley, showers in Wau, cloudy with a few showers in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly cloudy with some rain showers and possible thunderstorms in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kimbe and Buka, and cloudy with some rain showers in Kokopo and Rabaul. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with possible rain showers, then morning fog in Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa, and some showers and thunderstorms, followed by morning fog in Mendi and Wabag. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Daru, Yule Island, Hood Point, Samar Islands, including waters of Vitia Strait to Wewak, with waters of Wewak to Vanimo and to northern PNG Indonesian border, including waters of Manus and its western group of island seas of 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Samar Islands to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of New Britain seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Cape Vogel through Huon Gulf and to Vitia Strait seas of 0.5 to 1 meter, and waters of New Ireland to Bougainville seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. I'll look at the ocean forecast. The PNG areas in the Coral Sea sees slight to moderate with southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea sees slight with northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea sees slight to moderate with northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean sees slight with northeast to northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Thursday, 16th December 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, be safe and good night.